Welcome to the Rewards Master. Today we're going to talk about one of the most popular credit card issuers. In fact, they probably have the most popular card of the last 2 or 3 years, the Venture X card, and that's Capital One. And in this series, I'm looking at different ecosystems. We already looked at American Express and talked about the upsides and the downsides of having American Express cards. And in this video, we're going to talk about the upsides and downsides of Capital One. So if you would, hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll dive into it together. Capital One is a credit card issuer that on the surface seems very similar to some of its competitors. But when you kind of peel back the layers, it is its own animal. It is completely different in many, many ways. Now, they have become very, very popular in the last few years because the Venture X card is on most people's list of one of the very best cards and maybe even the best premium card on the market that's been introduced in years and years and years. So this card, people love it and people want to get it, but some people can't get it. It's just like there's so many facets to Capital One that I thought, wow, if we're going to do an upside downside video, there's going to be a lot in both columns. So we need to look at it together. The upsides of Capital One are many and they are powerful. And when we look at what they do and the benefits they give to their customers, there are just some fantastic benefits. The first I think we have to mention is although they don't quite match American Express in their sign-up bonuses, they have consistently good sign-up bonuses. So if you get the Venture card or the Venture X card, it's pretty much always going to be 75,000 Capital One miles. And that's pretty good for about a $4,000 spend in about 3 months. So that's not the greatest offer you're ever going to find. Like we said before, in our evaluation of the American Express ecosystem, they're the best of the best on this. You can get crazy elevated offers. But the crazy thing about American Express is sometimes it's 80,000 points, sometimes it's 200,000 points on the same card. That's not true with Capital One. They are consistent. They're not as big as American Express, but they're consistently good. A 75,000 point bonus offer is good. And you don't have to wonder, well, do I need to wait and do I need to check it all the time? No. You're going to get good bonus offers. You're going to get that on their Saver Rewards cards. You're going to get a good bonus offer on most of their cards. They're no annual fee ones. It's less, but that's true with all issuers. So that consistent sign-up bonus, good offers, is, I think, a great upside of Capital One cards. The other great upside is excellent multipliers. Now, in this game, sometimes issuers have great cards with great sign-up bonuses. American Express is really kind of typical for this. But some of the cards just don't have good spending multipliers. Take the American Express Platinum card as an example. It has incredible sign-up offers, but most people just don't use the card. If you're wanting great multipliers and continuous spend on a card, the American Express Platinum is one that you use for air flights, and you might use it a little bit through the portal, but you just kind of keep it in your wallet and just use it to get into their airport lounges. But Capital One, the Venture X card, their top dog card, is very different. It is a daily driver card because it has simple multipliers. You get great multipliers like 10x on hotels, rental cars, and stuff like that, 5x on flights through their portal. But for those of us who don't like portals, you still use it a lot because it is a tremendous, maybe the best card on the market for everyday spend because it gets 2x miles on everything you buy. And that's true of the Venture card, which is its little brother that only has a $95 annual fee instead of a $395 annual fee like the Venture X. And it still gives 2x on everything. It's a good card. So when you look at their ecosystem, and especially if you pair one of those cards with like their Saver cards that get 3x on things like, dining and grocery store, stuff like that, then you get a really good combo. And in fact, most people, when they talk about different trifectas, like American Express trifecta versus City trifecta, they don't talk about trifectas when it comes to the Capital One ecosystem, they talk about the Capital One Duo, because you only really need 2 cards with Capital One to get the same benefits that you do as far as multipliers with many of its competitors. So it's a tremendous upside, just super, super valuable to get 2x everywhere on not just their top tier card, but even its little brother. So they have a premier credit card, a top level travel card with a big annual fee and all of that, like its competitors with the American Express Platinum and the Chase Sapphire Reserve, that you want to use all the time. And that is just a tremendous, tremendous upside. So Capital One definitely has awesome multipliers. I think the third upside that we look at is they have great transfer partners, foreign transfer partners. So we're going to talk about in the downsides, they don't really have any domestic transfer partners, but they do have foreign transfer partners that are very good. I mean, you've got some of the ones that matter the most. You've got things like Air Canada. You've got things like Flying Blue, that's Air France. You've got some really, really good transfer partners if you want to leverage these points for business class travel, first class travel, and get kind of your maximum point value out of your points. So their transfer partners, although they don't have great domestic, they have really, really good foreign transfer partners. With their top tier card, I think the fourth upside is we have to point out it has a very easy positive net annual fee that can be attained. So what I mean by that is that with some of the other cards, particularly I'm thinking of their competitor in the Chase Sapphire Reserve, it's difficult to get back your entire $500+ annual fee. But with the Venture X, it's $395 a year. You get a $300 portal discount. We used to call it a credit, but it's really a discount because you get $300 off of anything you buy in the portal. That's $300. And then you get 10,000 bonus miles every year, which are worth more than the $95 that's remaining. So you get a positive annual fee on a top tier card that you actually want to use because it's got great multipliers. That's an awesome, awesome upside. The fifth upside to me is lounge access. Now, people are going to point out that, well, this card doesn't have as good at lounge access as American Express and their Platinum card. Well, that's true if you're just counting the number of different places you have access to or different lounges. But they kind of offset that because your lounge access with this includes guests. And that doesn't always work with American Express. I mean, you can't get into Centurion Lounge with guests without paying for them. Can't get into Delta Sky Clubs without guests. But with this card, with the Priority Pass, you get guests. And also in their own lounges, you get 2 guests when you go into a Capital One lounge. And Capital One lounges are smoking good. I mean, I know there aren't a lot of them, but they're building more. And they do have them in very commonly traversed airports. So if you fly American, you're probably going to go through DFW. They have a great one there. If you fly United, you're probably going to go through Denver. And they have a great one there. They have one in DC. And a lot of folks with a lot of airlines fly through there. So they have an incredible, great lounge access program. They're building more of them all the time. And frankly, their own branded lounges, the Capital One lounges, rival anybody's lounges, in my opinion. They're just as good as American Express. They're just as good as the Chase lounges. So I think it's a tremendous upside. Another kind of underrated, awesome feature is they have $0 authorized users on their top card. If you get the Venture X, I mean, you can add authorized users and they get their own Priority Pass and they get their own access to Capital One lounges. And you get that with no extra fee. And that is just absolutely phenomenal. Most other top travel cards, including Chase, including American Express, charge a fee. Some are $195 with American Express. There's $75 with Chase, but it's $0 for several authorized users. So you get so much more lounge access because all of them get guests as well. That is just an underrated, awesome upside of Capital One. And the last upside I'm going to talk about is about their portal. Now, this doesn't apply to me so much because I only use the portal for that $300 discount. And after that, I don't use portals at all. So, but people who do use the portal, they give things like a price guarantee in their portal. And their portal is just most of the time cheaper than their competitors' portals. They try to have prices that are competitive with the airlines and with the hotels. And that's kind of unique in the credit card hobby. So to me, their portal is the best of all their competitors. And it's definitely an upside for people who use travel portals through the bank often. So to me, that's a great, great upside. Before we dive into the downsides, I want to tell you about my channel memberships that were just launched. And I just have one tier of channel membership. It's $2.99 a month. You can quit at any time. And so it's really very, very little risk for you. But what you get with that is I'm going to be putting out at least one members only video every week where I talk about to my insiders, and that's what it's called, RM Insiders for Reward Master. And if you're an insider, you're going to get kind of my insider perspective videos where I talk about things that I just don't put out to the general public. The other thing you'll receive is you'll receive direct access to polls, things of that nature. And also you receive all of my videos just a little bit earlier. So you'll get them a day or two before they go out public. So if you're interested in that, you can hit the link in the description and go and join up to become an RM Insider. And so I appreciate it. The videos also now have a thanks button to the right of the like button. And if you'd like to click on that and support the channel, you can do so. So keep that in mind as well. And let's dive in to the downsides of Capital One. Okay, the first downside is huge. It's approvals. Nobody knows why or how Capital One does their approvals. They approve people who have very low credit scores sometimes, or comparatively to other credit card users. They approve people that you wouldn't think are the top tier of what they'd want. And it seems like if you have a lot of credit cards and if you pay them off every month and don't carry a balance, they don't approve you. I mean, some folks with 800 plus credit scores can only get approved for a secure card. I mean, one where you got to deposit money first to get a limit. That makes no sense. Nobody else does something like that. It seems like they make more of their money on people who carry a balance. So people who are more advanced in the credit card hobby, maybe churn through cards, pay them off every time, get a lot of sign-up bonuses. They just don't really want those folks. And so it can be super, super frustrating. So I think their approval process is maybe the biggest downside. If you've had any issues with this yourself, I'd love to hear about it. I know I can't get a Capital One card. The only reason we have one, I'm an authorized user on my Player 2 because I just can't get one because I'm not their target demographic. The second thing that I think is a big time downside is they are little by little slowly removing benefits. It started with changing the travel portal credit. It used to be a credit. So you'd charge the, $300-400 and they'd give you back $300. So you earned points on that. And then you got the $300 credit. Now it's a discount. So they just changed it a little bit so you don't get points on what you're purchasing. Not a big deal, but it's just a little tweak of the benefits. Then recently they changed their lounge access because used to their priority pass, it included restaurant access. And if you're like in certain airports in the terminal you need to be in, they'll have some restaurants you can get like I think it's $28 a person that you get at a restaurant up to 2 people. It's a great deal, $56 for a meal. But very few cards have that anymore. And Capital One was one of the last ones that still had it. But recently they cut it. So they're just tweaking little by little. There are other things, little changes, and they do them very incrementally, very slowly. So they're not just making major changes or up in annual fees, anything like that. They're just taking away stuff little by little. So what does that mean? Well, it's not a big deal now, but if it's a pattern, how much more are they going to start taking away? Well, we'll just have to see as time goes by, but it's definitely a downside. As I mentioned when I talked about their great foreign transfer partners, I think a downside is their domestic transfer partners. I mean, if you're really advanced in the game, surely you can transfer over to foreign partners and then book a domestic one that's a partner of that airline, whatever. But when it comes to folks who just want to transfer to United or Delta or something like that, they have very little in that. And the ones they have aren't good. So it's like you just don't have many options. But that's when Citi and with them and with Wells Fargo, that's kind of what you're looking at with all of them. So I think that's not a major downside, but I think it definitely would be included in the downside list. To me, another big downside, and this doesn't apply to a lot of folks because not everybody does business cards, but I'm not interested in getting a Capital One business card because they report to personal credit. Now that is, if you're trying to stay under the Chase 524 and chasing all of that, that's just awful because it's like there's no benefit to having a business card. So to me, I don't really know why people want Capital One business cards. They don't have the kind of innate benefits that most business cards with most issuers have. And that is they don't report to your personal credit. So it doesn't show up as a new credit card and it doesn't show up against your utilization every month. So if you have other competitor business cards and you need to kind of have a higher balance for a little while, but while it's reporting and then pay kind of closer to the due date, it doesn't hurt you with those cards. With this one, it shows up on your personal utilization. So to me, that's a major downside of Capital One. Another thing they do that's weird is randomly lower credit limits. Most folks, if you have Chaser card or American Express card, pretty much if you get a $20,000 limit, you're going to keep that $20,000 limit. That's kind of the way that it goes. Unless you have problems, maybe you're paying your bill late or something like that. But when it comes to Capital One, you could be a perfect customer and be paying your bills perfectly, but they'll just send you a letter, I know because we've had this, and say, looks like you're not using all of your available credit. We're going to lower your credit. And they lower it a lot. And they just do it randomly. And they say you can kind of request not to have that done, but what a hassle that is. I don't know why they do that. I think they're just trying to limit their risk. But why would you limit your risk with your best customers that have shown kind of perfect usage of your card and are very, very low risk already? But that's just one of those internal Capital One things unique to them. So to me, it's definitely a downside. So that's the list that I have. As I was kind of reflecting back, there's some more that just popped in my mind. There's a positive. They have a $0 annual fee card that can transfer to partners. Now, American Express has that too, but Chase doesn't. So there are some other ones I'm sure that you could kind of point out, and I would love to hear those. Did I miss any upsides? Did I miss any downsides? Please put that in the comments below. And if you would, please help me. I'm marching forward towards 1,000 subscribers. Very excited about that. If you would like and subscribe, that helps the channel immensely. So I hope you've enjoyed this upside downside video. Still coming up in the near future, we're going to have both Chase, we're going to have Wells Fargo, we're going to talk about Citi, and we're going to talk about Bilt and the upsides and downsides of each of those ecosystems. Have a great day, and we'll see you here next time.